The scent of old paper and dust hung heavy in the air. Edward Finch sat by a flickering candlelight in his late father's study. His gaze drifted to a portrait on the wall, showing a kind, familiar face. A wave of profound grief washed over him, since his father had passed only recently. He felt the weight of his loss, a quiet sorrow in the dim room. Edward ran his hand along the desk's worn surface. He felt a slight give, then a hidden compartment sprang open with a soft click. Inside, he found a large, heavy book, the Unfinished Atlas. Beneath it lay a letter, its parchment yellowed with age. As he read his father's familiar script, Edward's eyes widened with a new sense of purpose. Edward carefully packed a sturdy travel bag. He placed the Unfinished Atlas inside, ensuring it was protected. Next, he took out a small bronze locket. He put the Wayfinder's locket around his neck, its smooth surface cool against his skin. Looking at his reflection, a new, resolute determination shone in his thoughtful eyes. The Port Town Tavern was loud, filled with boisterous laughter and clinking tankards. Edward felt out of place, his quiet nature clashing with the rowdy atmosphere. He scanned the room, then spotted her in a corner. Anne Barlow was methodically cleaning her longbow, her movements precise. Edward took a deep breath, approaching her table with a hesitant step. Edward carefully unrolled a section of the Unfinished Atlas on the table. He pointed to a faded, intricate drawing of the sunken road. Anne leaned closer, her sharp blue eyes studying the map with a serious expression. She traced a finger along the winding path, considering the details. After a long moment, she gave a slow, decisive nod, and an agreement was made. The morning air was crisp as Edward and Anne left the port town behind. They walked along a well-worn path, the city walls shrinking steadily in the distance. Ahead, a vast, untamed forest loomed, its ancient trees reaching towards the sky. A sense of adventure, mixed with a slight apprehension, filled the air. Their journey had truly begun. Deep within the dense woods, sunlight dappled through the thick canopy. Anne moved with quiet efficiency, her eyes scanning the forest floor. She pointed to faint tracks, barely visible depressions in the earth. Edward consulted the Unfinished Atlas, comparing the terrain to its detailed drawings. He meticulously added new notes and corrections, their collaboration focused and steady. Their path led them to a wide, rapid river, its waters churning fiercely. Crossing seemed impossible, but Anne quickly surveyed the banks. She spotted a massive fallen log spanning part of the turbulent water. Anne devised a plan, testing the log's stability with a pragmatic nod. She then guided a nervous Edward across, ensuring his hesitant steps were secure. They rested by a small, crackling fire, the forest sounds surrounding them. Edward absently clutched the Wayfinder's locket around his neck. A faint, distinct warmth spread from the bronze, a comforting sensation. His eyes widened slightly in surprise. He looked up at the vast canopy, realizing they were heading in the correct direction. As they continued, a clearing opened up, revealing a ruined campsite. A collapsed tent, rusted cooking pots, and scattered, weathered supplies lay abandoned. The scene was a grim reminder of the dangers that lay hidden along their path. Edward and Anne exchanged a sober glance. Their journey was perilous, demanding constant caution. A sudden rock slide blocked our main path along the sunken road. Panic tightened my chest, but Anne remained calm. I pulled out the Unfinished Atlas, desperately searching my father's meticulous notes. A faint pencil-drawn line indicated an alternate, steeper route through the hills. It was dangerous, but our only choice. Night fell as we made a small, sheltered camp. Anne started a crackling fire, its warmth a comfort against the mountain chill. She, usually so private, began to share a story from her youth. It was a tale of resilience, of facing hardship alone. I listened, feeling a new, quiet bond forming between us in the flickering light. The climb began in the cold, pre-dawn light. The air grew thin with every step, making my lungs ache. A relentless wind whipped around us, tugging at our clothes. My legs burned, and the journey became physically draining, far more than I had expected. Anne, though tired, pressed on, her determination a silent encouragement. We were nearing the ridge when Anne suddenly held up a hand. Her blue eyes narrowed, listening to something I couldn't yet hear. Then a vast, dark shadow briefly passed overhead, chilling the air. Far in the distance, a large winged creature soared. Anne quickly pulled me behind a cluster of jagged rocks. After hours of strenuous climbing, we found it, an ancient, moss-covered stone marker, half hidden by overgrown brush. Carved into its weathered surface was the distinct symbol from my father's atlas clasp. I reached out, my fingers tracing the cold stone. A profound sense of connection to my father, a silent understanding washed over me. We finally reached the edge of a colossal chasm. Below us, a vast network of deep, narrow canyons stretched into the horizon. It was exactly as depicted in the unfinished atlas, breathtaking and daunting. The wind whistled through the rock formations, creating strange, eerie noises that echoed. An unsettling silence followed each gust. I pulled out the Wayfinder's locket. To my surprise, it began to glow with a soft, steady, warm light. Using its guidance and the detailed map in the atlas, I felt a surge of confidence. I confidently led us through the confusing maze of the canyon. Anne followed without question, trusting the path revealed. In a sheltered alcove, hidden from the wind, we found it, his last campsite. A weathered canvas tent stood partially collapsed, bearing the marks of time. A cold, long-extinguished fire pit was nearby, filled with ash. On a flat rock, a leather-bound journal lay, waiting for me. My hands trembled as I opened the journal. His familiar handwriting filled the final entry. It spoke of a profound discovery, something beyond these canyons, something he had only just reached. Tucked within the pages was a small, newly drawn map fragment. It pointed further east, towards a distant, solitary peak. Anne and I stood at the canyon's eastern edge. The vast landscape stretched before us. On the distant horizon, a solitary mountain peak rose, bathed in the soft, warm light of the setting sun. My father's final words echoed in my mind. Our journey was far from over, but a new, clear purpose now guided us. If you liked the video, subscribe and hit the bell to not miss the next part.
Si te gustó el video, suscríbete y activa la campanita para no perderte la próxima parte.